I'm Carly Kramer. I'm the founder of Beekeepers Naturals, and this is the science of fertility. Let's get into it. Today, we are talking about the many devices one can use to get pregnant.
Yeah.
And some people use no devices and they just
amazing.
Experience intercourse. Just lie there and experience intercourse.
Yeah.
And take a
others,
test at some point or just don't get a period. And then others use everything.
Too many things.
Too many things. So let's start with this. What are we testing for? And what are these? Because I'm not just talking about a straight up pregnancy test. I'm talking about the devices you use to track ovulation, when to have sex, when you can get pregnant, all of those things.
Yeah. I would say there's kind of two main categories of tests or tools that we can use. One is going to be more temperature-based, so that's going to be things like that AVA bracelet.
What I used to have my little baby.
Which obviously worked well and wonderfully. And so that's looking, again, more temperature-based, which I can get into the details of that in a moment. That's very similar to the Oura ring as well. Also similar to natural cycles, which can sync with the Oura ring.
Yeah, I also was doing natural cycles, but it was too many things. So I just wore my super cute bracelet.
Right, exactly. And it is really cute.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. So that's kind of the temperature side of things, or the tools that can measure that. There's temp drop, like there's a million out there. So this temperature side. And then the other side is more urine-based. So we're looking for what we call urine metabolites, so breakdown products of the hormones. And different ones will test different hormones. Some are more comprehensive, meaning they test all of the things. And by all of the things, really the most comprehensive ones will look at FSH, LH, a breakdown product of estrogen, which we call E3G, which is estrone 3-glucuronide. We'll call her E3G for short for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And then there's also a progesterone breakdown. For short, we call her PDG, or pregnanediol glucuronide. Again, PDG for short for obvious reasons. So that would be like the meaty one would test all of those. And so the urine tests that are out there have a variation of that.
Is urine more accurate than body temperature? Because I had a few things when I was in the trying phase where it would be like, okay, on Saturday, you're ovulating. So like, you know, or Saturday is like the fertility window, let's go. And then Saturday would arrive and we would have sex and it was useless sex. Yeah. I was like,
well,
why
not you. We were bonding.
Obviously, it was wonderful.
Yes,
but it was very it was frustrating.
Of creating a baby.
It was frustrating. The thing would be like, oops, sorry, actually, I said Saturday, I meant Wednesday. So and so we were just. It was a beautiful bonding experience. Of
course,
but we were going every day for like a really, really long time.
Yeah, which can be a lot of stress for you.
Well, it was
for him.
It was stressful seeing the thing move because I was like, okay, yeah, we can have sex anytime, but like I thought we were kind of making a baby here, and then like the window fucking moved on me.
Right, which is so frustrating. Yeah. And that can be really common with the temperature-focused devices. And the reason is because the temperature rise comes after ovulation. So it takes roughly 24 to maybe 36 hours for us to see a shift in temperature, and it should be about 0.3 to 0.5 degrees Celsius. Sorry for everyone who speaks Fahrenheit. Medicine is Celsius. These devices generally measure in Celsius. And so that shift will tell us, okay, yes, we ovulated. Yes, we're making some progesterone. And now our body temp is a little bit higher. And it should stay high for the entire rest of the luteal phase. And so it's what it's doing, the device, is it's trying to learn when you've had
it's
temperature
looking at previous to predict the future.
And it's trying to, So, and if we are not perfect people, of course, things will shift. Stress can adjust when or if we ovulate. And so that's why it's doing its best to kind of be like, okay, last 2 cycles, last 3 cycles, it uses different algorithms to be like, okay, this is probably the ovulatory window, but it's not perfect. So that's where that can be a helpful tool. But I also like using the urine testing to kind of like piece things together a little bit more.
So in a perfect world, and I don't think I was doing this, I think I was just using the bracelet, but in a perfect world, is it that I'm maybe using body temperature? Because that's kind of easy. Like I like just like putting something on and it's like, today's the day. Like that's what I want.
Yeah.
And then maybe just to confirm today is the day, I'm peeing on a stick that morning.
Yes.
And do I do that because you can get pregnant 5 days before you ovulate.
Yes. We have roughly a 3 to 6 day window every month that we're most fertile, where that timed intercourse could result in a pregnancy. And that's roughly the same for most people. That window of time shifts depending on when we ovulate. And really, ideally, we want to be having intercourse before ovulation, because once egg is released, it only lasts, literature differs a little bit. Some say it lasts 4 hours, some say it lasts 24 hours. So the sperm really needs to just be there to be ready for it. And so when we're peeing with sticks, which we'll touch on in a moment, what's most helpful is starting the testing generally once the period stops. So a normal cycle should have no more than 7 days of bleeding. And then once that's done, we should be starting to test. First morning urine is best because it's the most concentrated. And then depending on what device and tools we're using will tell us what hormones we're looking at. And then we can continue testing until we see that LH spike, because that's our luteinizing hormone that's helping trigger ovulation. And then that can over time help narrow in the fertile window. And I agree. I don't have my patients continue to do this like 6, 9, 12 months in. I mean, fortunately, we haven't had to go that long with any of my patients, but I think it can become like just another thing in them. I know we both went through this. We were testing
the testing. I can't handle. I can't do it.
We did a lot so that others don't have to.
So you are in the trying phase right now. And you're using all of the tests. And then I'm soon to start trying again. And you gave me all the tests you're using, and like, I can't do it. I'm very overwhelmed. It's too many things. So first, let's tell everyone what you're doing, why you're choosing what you're choosing. And just like really quick, like
touch on the ones.
Okay.
So I chose 3 to trial, and part of that was out of my own curiosity of like, how much do they compare? How much similar are they to each other?
Plus you have your Oura ring.
Plus the Oura ring. So 4,
Are you
I
using
guess.
the Oura ring? Like how much does that?
I use it to just track my cycles. I also use it to see.
Is it accurate?
Somewhat.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, but not too bad. When I compare when it thinks I ovulated to when the devices say, it's like a day or 2 off. So it's pretty good.
For some reason, the Ava bracelet was more accurate than the Oura ring.
Oh, interesting. Cool. Were you as consistent with your Oura ring as
I was wearing
bracelet?
both every night.
Okay, interesting. Oh, interesting. So yes,
maybe my Oura ring was just busted.
Maybe you needed a new one. Who knows? So I'm using all of those, and the reason why is, again, I wanted to compare them, see how similar, how different they are from each other. And then also just to help kind of narrow in my fertile window, because I've learned from my Oura ring, my temperature rise comes later in my cycle. And so I'm like, okay, I ovulate later. So like us having intercourse around like day 10, useless in pursuit of child making, wonderful for bonding, as we already highlighted, but not helpful for baby making. And so the devices, 3 main ones, the Inito, which people are probably familiar with. And then there's also Oura, which is another kit. And then the third, which I just don't have on hand, is Mira. And so where they differ from each other is the Inito measures all 4. So it's going to measure LH, FSH, estrogen or estradiol, break down the E3G, and then PDG as well.
I feel like I see a lot of tests that just measure LH.
Yes, which can be helpful. And there are like just over-the-counter ones you can get from the pharmacy and whatnot.
If you had to choose one thing to measure from urine, that was predictive, would it be LH?
Totally. Yes, absolutely. The reason that I like these is because all of them collectively do still measure the E3G, the estrogen breakdown. And why that's helpful is estrogen and estradiol more specifically spikes before LH does. So visualizing that estradiol spike with that urine coming as high will tell you, okay, LH is probably spiking soon. So that can again help narrow in the fertile window of like when we see that estrogen spike, that's a good time to start. And then the LH spike comes, and then a few days after is when we see the progesterone rise confirming ovulation. And I think these are nice for confirmation of ovulation because different things can fluctuate our temperature, of course, like if we get sick or whatnot, but having the urine test is really nice. But it's a lot in the morning. It's been so many pee sticks in the morning. And
I tried one time and was like, nope.
My husband will laugh at me, but it's quite literally this little cup that just collects some pee in. And then I have all my little sticks.
You know, I peed in that.
Hey, you did? I love that. For me, I'd like to think that you washed it. Thank you so much.
I'm just joking. I didn't pee in it. I was too lazy to do that. Of course I didn't pee in it. You know, I didn't use any of these.
All over the sticks.
I did.
Which didn't help with the accuracy.
I sent you a picture and you're like, that's not how we use these.
Which, okay, you could, in fairness, yes, you could put it in the urine stream. Us all being females, we don't have the direct urine stream that males have. So the little catch and the dipping is most helpful to do.
Are you supposed to leave it in or you just dip and then put it on the counter?
So most of them you'll leave in for about 20 seconds.
Okay.
And then they're all different in how long they take to read. So UVA, they use different methodology to actually do the measurement. And that's where I think for me, my preference shifted as to which one I liked more than others of just finding some more accuracy. And so UVA uses a thing, it's called spectroscopy. It's kind of just saying it's using light to help identify how much of that hormone is in the urine. That can be, of course, impacted by the light on your camera. It uses your camera phone to kind of detect it. And then a lot of things can impact how that looks. So I just feel like there's a lot of variation.
But every day with the UVA, you're peeing on 2 different sticks. One to measure the LH and one that measures all the other stuff.
So this will actually give you a breakdown of a kind of like a cycle mapping or a testing schedule. So you'll start with just an estrogen test initially. So finishing your period, you'll start with just the estrogen measurement.
And that's the time to start. So for me, I'm planning to get pregnant in the fall. A month before, 2 months before. Like when should I actually start doing this?
Ideally, at least a month before, but I think 2 to 3 months before is most helpful because you'll see some natural variations, but that window ultimately shouldn't shift a whole lot. So then I think what's nice is if you do the homework beforehand, it allows you to just focus on like the fun parts of baby making during, rather than like testing and then it feels like this stress of like, oh my gosh, today's the day, we're traveling, or he's gone, I'm gone, and it can just be a lot.
That was part of what was stressful for me is because we both travel so much. And then there was like the testing and then I was like, okay, I've changed my work trip, so I'm here. And then it's not ovulating on this day. So, you know, we probably would have had sex no matter what. But like now it's like, fuck, I have to change my trip again. Like it's just
it's a lot of stress.
So much. So 2-3 months before, I don't want to test. Do I have to test every day?
You don't have to test every day. The UVA comes in with the intention of testing roughly for 15 to 20 days, which is obviously a lot of your cycle. I think once you see and confirm, because again, one of the test strips looks for estrogen, the other one looks for LH and the progesterone breakdown. Once you get through that ovulation, like the LH spike, and then you see a progesterone rise, I think you could set it aside. Like you've confirmed like that cycle, that period of time is done. You could continue to test for the progesterone rise. It really doesn't matter. What I don't like about this specifically is sometimes I find their testing window can miss the LH spike. So for example, I chose to do both following my cycle. And even though it didn't tell me to use the LH strip, I actually did have my LH spike on a day that it would have missed. So I adjusted that, if that makes sense. It was just like, it's just an estrogen day. And I was like, I'm just going to test both. And I caught my spike when it may have potentially missed it. And then the Inito is similar. Again, this one tests all 4, same thing, morning urine. This one actually uses your camera phone. So it's like a little attachment. It attaches to your phone using the camera. And then you put the wand into the device.
That one I didn't even try. I was just like, this looks complicated. I'm out.
This is too much. So this is another option. This one takes 10 minutes to read. This one has to sit for 10 minutes, so comparable timing. Mira, who's the additional one, it's a little separate device. Once you're done with the urine stick,
I wish we had a Mira here to show people.
Yeah, it's okay. It's like a little.
That's your favorite one, and I don't have it.
It's okay. It's okay. I don't take it personally. It's like a little egg-shaped almost. You put the wand in there, and that one takes the longest. It takes about 21 minutes.
Oh, I don't know why that's your favorite. That sounds terrible.
You don't have to wait. Like you can leave for the morning and then come back and get the information later.
I like that.
Or what I did some mornings is I just like brought it on my little commute to work because I was too eager to wait until I got home.
You could go in the carpool lane?
Go in the carpool lane. Yeah. We're trying for, number 2. And I love the Mira just because of the way that it measures. So it uses immunofluorescence, which is just essentially a fancy way of saying equivalent to what a lab would do. And so their little device is the one that I think gives us the most accurate quantitative measurement. So it's giving you like a number behind the actual hormones that it's testing. They have different wands that test different hormones, but we were using the estrogen, the LH, and the progesterone. So you get all three each morning. And I like that because it's all together kind of like the Inito, so that you're not potentially missing that fertile window, which I would have experienced with Uva if I hadn't just tested them all together. And then in combination with just confirming temperature rise with the Oura ring. So that's been my very long, lengthy morning routine over the last few months.
I mean, I really appreciate you testing all of them.
Yeah, it was honestly a great experience because I have had patients that use all of them, a variety of them, and I think it's nice to have the experience myself. I'm always a big proponent of if I'm going to ask a patient to do it, I have to have done it myself too. Yeah. And so now I can officially say I've done all of them. Moving forward, my plan is just to use Mira, is kind of the conclusion I've come to.
Okay, so you love Mira. For me, knowing that I am a combo of very lazy and I don't follow instructions, what are you going to tell me to do 3 months before we actually start trying?
Ideally, I'm going to convince you that Mira is going to be your friend.
Okay.
Yeah. That's going to be my ideal scenario.
This is why I liked the Ava though, because it's just, even though it wasn't perfectly accurate, I mean, I had a baby, so it was accurate. It at some point worked. But it was just like, okay, the next few days are the time. And that was all I did. And I didn't have to think about other stuff. But it does, especially because of both of our travel schedules, it's going to take planning, unfortunately, for this next.
Right. So in a perfect scenario, we add in something that's checking urine metabolites, but it's not the end all and be all. And that's what I want also people to take away of, like, these are tools that we have, but if they add more stress than value to your life, then do not, just drop it. Know that if you want to do the absolute least possible, you can, and you can still have a very successful pregnancy.
What is the absolute least possible? What does that look like?
Absolute least possible would be absolutely none of these, and we would just be having intercourse every other day, finishing from when our period stopped. We would have it every other day until roughly, we could say, around cycle day 25 to be super safe. You could do that whole window of time. And the every other day is because if we have daily intercourse, there's some evidence to suggest that the volume and the amount of sperm within semen and ejaculate isn't quite enough if we're doing it daily. So the every other day allows
it's like
for
diluting the sperm.
Kind of, yeah. So it's like allowing for some
regeneration.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So that would be like the absolute least possible. It's like we don't even have to mess with any of this.
Yeah.
I think what's nice is that this can confirm ovulation, whether we do just something with temperature. Like, I think a lot of people do have Oura rings or other wearables, like the Whoop strap. Like, a lot of those things do test that or measure that. So that's another avenue. And then I have some that are like want every single part of info possible. And that's where I think the urine tests are super helpful.
Yeah. And that's kind of nice. Like, we talked about starting supplements 3 months before. So you start the testing if you want to be doing more testing 3 months before.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it just
hate testing.
Yeah, I know you love all the blood work that we do.
Oh my God.
And I know that you love all of these tests. Again, it's information that's out there that we can get if we want it, but we absolutely don't need to. I mean, you're a testament to we don't need to use these.
So continuing with pregnancy tests, because as we know,
that's the goal.
That is the goal. But I had 2 negative pregnancy tests when I was in fact pregnant. And they were those early detection, wait 6 days, those sorts of tests. So maybe those are just like not that accurate, but still 2 of them.
Right.
Yeah, that was kind of a mindfuck.
Yeah, that's frustrating and not totally uncommon. The accuracy of at-home urine pregnancy tests diminishes immensely the further away we are from our missed period. Meaning that if our upcoming period would be in 8 days, if you were to test that day and your period you were expecting in 8 days, you would, even if you were pregnant, you would likely get a negative.
Yeah, I think that's what I did.
Yes. And then that would probably again occur the following day. And for some,
but it says early detection, so this is just a lie. This is just false advertising.
It can. So I've seen it the most when someone's having twins, for example, because they have so much more HCG initially being produced than someone who's maybe just having like one embryo growing. But anywho, so yes, that's there. If you look on the box, it does
So if you want to detect twins, use early detection.
Don't quote that.
I mean, these boxes already are all lying to us.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. On one of the boxes, I was looking at just to like overview again, and one of the early detection ones, it says when you're 7 days out, it just had a dash. Like it was just so inaccurate. It didn't even give you a percentage of accuracy. Yeah, and then when it was 5 days out, it was like 78%. And then as we get closer to like the day of or 2 days before, we're getting into like the 90% range, 99% range where we're more accurate, which is more of what you expect.
And then how early? Because I had those 2 negatives.
Right.
And then I thought I was not pregnant and then missed my period. And I was like, what's happening here? And I think I went and got a blood test. No, I think after that I got another test and I then tested positive. Yeah. But then I went and got a blood test and that's really the most accurate. When can you do that blood test? How early?
So you could do it as early as 7 to 10 days after ovulation is really what the literature says, where that blood test could show signs of HCG prior to it being present in the urine. 7 days, that's early. Yeah, which much earlier than what the urine stick will show you totally.
What's the accuracy versus the urine stick?
Much more accurate. I don't know the percentages off the top of my head, but yes, significantly more accurate. Yeah. Because HCG is only present in the body generally if there's cancer and or if we're pregnant. So like we're sensitive to measuring it. So yeah, we can do that earlier on. It's nice when we do the blood test after confirming a pregnancy, although that's unfortunately not standard of care, which frustrates me because I love doing it for my patients because it's peace of mind of like, okay, the pee stick was accurate, but then also we can look for what we say is doubling. So every 48 hours, that HCG should be doubling in the bloodstream in those first few weeks of pregnancy. And so it's a nice way to track like the viability of the pregnancy and how things are going early on.
Yeah, you had me, so I was in New York at the time, you had me go into a clinic and get the blood test. And that was like, confirm. Yeah. It was very exciting.
Yeah, it was. So it's like oh my gosh, it's really happening. So I think there's like the excitement, but panic, but like, is this for real when you see the urine stick? And it's like all of the emotions. And then the blood test is kind of like, oh my gosh, yes, it is for real. So my hope and my ask of anyone listening is if you're curious or want to know if that's available, you can self-order. We can include that in the show notes of like how and where you would self-order an HCG test. I know we talked about labs in a previous episode, but you can totally do that. And if you have an OB, generally they don't see you till 8 or 10 weeks, right? So sometimes you're waiting a long time to get some confirmation.
Okay, so you can get pregnant without using anything.
Yep.
And that's have sex every other day, starting at the end of your cycle.
Yep.
Until day 25.
Yeah, that would be like the most safe time to end. Likely you could end sooner than that. Most people don't ovulate that late, but that would be like the biggest safety net, totally.
But if you want to do it with more precision, there's a ton of devices. We like the urine ones, even though they're a little more time consuming. Yeah, we like the urine ones better because they're significantly more accurate.
Yep.
You can do it with just body temperature too.
Totally.
But for me, what you are going to have me do, even though I really don't want to, but I blindly listen to you, is use one of the urine ones. Your favorite is the Mira, so that's what I'm going to use starting 3 months before. And I'm just going to pee in a cup every morning.
You're going to dip the stick you can...
Wait, how many days was it again? It's not every morning.
It's not every morning.
It's half my month.
Generally, yes.
So most mornings.
However we need to frame that mentally for you to be the most successful in doing it, I'm very open. So it's only 14 days, Carly. If that sells you, love it. If that doesn't,
I think I need to just get rid of my toilet and I'll just have like a cup there. And then that will force me.
My thing is you catch the urine, you dip your stick, you finish your pee. By the time you're finished peeing, your stick's ready to be put into the device and then you get ready. And then by the time you're done getting ready, it's ready for you.
Okay.
It's going to be seamless in your routine. So yes, that would be a recommendation. And again, starting earlier is part of the preconception care. Get a good idea of what your cycle's doing in case you've never done anything like this before.
I actually think starting earlier this time, because last time I started like days before I wanted to get pregnant. I think starting earlier is going to make it a lot more seamless because it will have the accuracy versus these situations where I'm like planning my entire life around
Right.
these dates that then change, which
Right.
is very hard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited for us to kind of narrow things in for you. And for anyone interested in the devices, we'll have in the show notes some different codes they can use to help save a little bit on purchasing them, because they're not the cheapest things out there.
No.
The Mira is the one that unfortunately is a little bit more costly. But again, from my experience, I've been really impressed by it. So we'll include that just to help with the cost burden, because preconception care can add up.
A lot.
And
Yeah.
it can be a lot.
It's so much, all of this stuff.
Yeah.
But, it's so important and so beautiful and leads to the most amazing things. So
Right. Absolutely. I know we covered a lot of different devices today, which I think is nice, because I don't think a lot of people are talking about what's out there. And then, as you probably experienced, as I certainly have, when you start even just thinking about preconception care, your Instagram is just hammered with ads.
oh my gosh, everything.
And you're like, okay, which one's helpful
Yeah.
for me? So hopefully this was helpful for people to just know what's out there, what they could use if they would like to. I want to say this, and I say this to everyone, it's not necessary to do this. And I know that we've talked about this a lot too. These are tools that we can absolutely lean on. I recommend it more for people who maybe have never really tracked their cycle and are now in a place of like, okay, I'm ready for baby making, but just aren't really as in tune with it as they should be. It can be an awesome tool. If this, again, hurts you more than it helps you, drop it, move on.
rid of
It's
it,
okay.
yeah.
We can get pregnant without her. We do not need her. But an amazing tool if we'd like to lean on it. So I think it's just helpful to know that these are out there and they're ready to help if you want it.